Hello, this is the 47th lecture on Revelation and World History. In the prophetic books and the book of Revelation, an empire appears that invades Israel and its surrounding nations. This empire is called Babylon. And in the book of Revelation, along with the Babylonian Empire, another invading nation appears. That nation is Gog and Magog. Last time, we looked at the description of Gog and Magog in Ezekiel chapter 38. Gog is the title of the king who rules over the land of Magog. Gog's army is described as consisting solely of cavalry. A nation with a similar structure to this description once appeared in history. It was the Mongol Empire built by Genghis Khan. The Babylonian Empire in the Book of Revelation is the Soviet Union. And Gog and Magog in Ezekiel is the Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan. In the very places where the Mongol Empire's horseshoes trod in the 13th century, communist states were established in the 20th century. In this lecture, we will explore the name became known through Magog. Revelation and World History, Chapter 6, Section 8. The name is made known through Magog. All the peoples of the land will bury them, and through them they will be made a name. For it is the day when my glory will be revealed, declares the Sovereign Lord. Ezekiel chapter 39 verse 13. This prophecy speaks of the people who were invaded by Magog. Through the invasion of Magog, the name of the nation will be made known to the world. The term foreigners used to refer to South Korea is Korea. This name became known to the West during the Goryeo dynasty and has been used to this day. The name was made known during the period when the Mongols were continuously conquesting the Korean peninsula. As the Mongol Empire's power grew, Pope Innocent IV dispatched several envoys to the Mongol Empire, beginning with Father Carpini in 1245. At that time, the envoy sent by King Louis IX of France was William of Rubruck. Rubruck visited the Mongol capital in 1253 and wrote a letter describing what he saw and heard. Rubruck's letter included a section mentioning the Korean peninsula. The letter included the word Kale, which referred to Goryeo, the then name of Korea. This later became Kare, and later became fixed in English as Korea. The following is an excerpt from Rubruck's letter. William Booker said this to me. He himself witnessed the delegation of the Kale and Manse peoples. They lived in a region surrounded by a sea that freezes over in winter. The Mongols could invade their country by advancing through this frozen region in winter. They seem to have avoided invasion by paying an annual tribute of 32,000 tumen to the Mongol royal family. We referred to Min Kyung Bae's History of Korean Christianity. In this way, the name of Goryeo became known to the West through Rubruck, who was dispatched from France. At that time, no one could have imagined that the gospel would spread to this easternmost Korean peninsula, and that the church would flourish to the point of being called the Jerusalem of the East. Marco Polo, in his travels, referred to the Mongol Empire as Magog. We referred to Marco Polo's The Travels of Marco Polo. It was during this period of Mongol invasion that the name of the Korean peninsula became known to the world. The account of Gog and Magog in Ezekiel and the Babylon described in the Book of Revelation are closely related. The Mongol army, led by Genghis Khan, established a vast empire, encompassing the East and the West. The Babylon of Revelation, the Soviet Union and the Communist states, stands on the former lands of the Mongol Empire. And in the country invaded by them, known as Korea, the remainder of the prophecy is being fulfilled. He puts reed boats afloat on the water, and sends his messengers down the canal, saying, "Go, you nimble messengers, to the land where the rivers divide the land, to a tall and handsome people. They are a people who have been feared since ancient times, and who are strong and trample on their enemies." Isaiah chapter 18 verse 2. The land divided by the rivers refers to the Korean Peninsula, whose borders are defined by the Yalu and Duman rivers. Tall and handsome people is the meaning of the word, used in the name of the country Goryeo dynasty, which is known to the world as the Republic of Korea, high and beautiful. The phrase, "a nation treading down the enemy," refers to the historical fact that, despite constant foreign invasions, such as those by the Mongols and Japanese, the nation did not perish but instead repelled them. Goryeo, which Wang Gun subjugated Silla, and established as its national title, took its name from the former Goryeo, signifying its succession. Goryeo also had a history of crushing invading enemies. The Sui dynasty of China twice led massive armies to invade Goryeo, but suffered crushing defeats. Emperor Wen of the Sui dynasty led a navy and an army of 300,000 to attack Goryeo in 598. But it is said that 8 or 9 out of 10 people died. Also, in 612, during the reign of his second son, Emperor Yang, he led a large army of 1,133,800 men to invade Goryeo, but this time too, he failed. During the Battle of Salsa, led by General Uljimundiog, when the Sui army first crossed the Liao River, there were 305,000 men in total. However, it is recorded that only 2,700 people returned alive. We referred to the Samguk Sagi, published by the Korean Spiritual Culture Research Institute. The two defeats against Goryeo led to the fall of the Sui dynasty and the rise of the new Tang dynasty. Afterwards, Silla allied with the Tang dynasty, and the Silla-Tang allied forces destroyed Baekje and Goryeo, unifying the three kingdoms of the Korean peninsula. The Tang dynasty later attempted to conquer Silla, but even this failed. In this way, the dynasties of the Korean peninsula have defeated all enemies that have invaded since ancient times, including the various dynasties of China, Mongolia, and Japan. They set reed boats afloat on the water. Isaiah chapter 18 verse 2. When we say reed boat, we are referring to a boat made of totora reeds, which can be found mainly in Lake Titicaca, Peru, South America. Furthermore, the boats made of bundled papyrus used on the Nile River in ancient Egypt can also be considered reed boats. A similar sight can also be seen on the Yalu River. They are rafts, rather than being a means of transportation or transport. This was a method used to bundle timber felled upstream and transported downstream in the form of a raft. We referenced the raft song resonating on the Yalu River, broadcast on SBS. Sending the messenger by the waterway. Rubric, the envoy sent by the King of France, was unable to set foot on the Korean peninsula, but instead arrived at the mouth of the Yalu River and described the peninsula. That country, Goryeo, lives in a place surrounded by the sea that freezes over in the winter, he reported. It was through him that the word Korea, which is currently used worldwide, was first introduced to the West. The Gog and Magog, mentioned in the Book of Revelation, are often interpreted as the final northern coalition attacking God's people. In other words, they are defined as the worldwide forces of evil opposing God. We have discovered a comparable entity in world history to the description of Gog and Magog in Ezekiel chapter 38. That entity was the Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan. We have examined the connection between the Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan which corresponds to Gog and Magog, and the Babylonian Empire, that appears in the Book of Prophecy within world history. The Babylon mentioned in Revelation is the Soviet Union. And the Gog and Magog, mentioned in Ezekiel chapter 38, is the Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan. The Soviet Union built a communist state on the very foundation of the Mongol Empire. In the next lecture, we will explore Chapter 7, Section 1, What is the Battle of Armageddon? Of Revelation and World History. It was the Bible History School. If you subscribe and set up notifications, you can continue listening to the lectures on Revelation and world history.